All right, I'm here with Cinder. This is Cinder, and you can hear a dog barking. And can you film that dog real quick? There we go. So Cinder's a little bit reactive to other dogs. So in this video, we're gonna go over some tips that you can use if you have a dog that is reactive like this. Now this is not a great setup because we're static, number one. We're right outside this dog's place, which is gonna make that dog a little bit more territorial. So usually there's a certain distance you can get. So I'm gonna back up a little bit more. Cinder. Yes. So basically what I'm gonna do is, Cinder, 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 find it. So what I want the dog to do is essentially practice walking around the other dog without reacting. Cinder. Now this dog, because it's barking, it's a little bit harder. We have to have it further away. But you see at this point, we're probably about 30 feet away, and I'm able to get Cinder's attention, and the other dog is not barking because we're further away from his territory. Now Cinder is still whining and whimpering, so I'm gonna continue to do find it's essentially what I'm doing. So at this point, Cinder is paying more attention to me. Now we have a dog over there. Englewood is required to have dogs all over the place. And you can come a little bit closer now. So the idea is I would like to walk Cinder, find it, get as close to that dog as I can without Cinder reacting. And every dog is gonna be unique. That dog, when we were right there, we were super duper close, and that's gonna be really, really challenging. But you hear that bark, and Cinder didn't even turn and look around. So Cinder's now kind of looking in other directions. The dog is still out, the dog's leaning over the fence. Cinder's pulling on a leash a little bit. We'll let Cinder, you can sniff it, just don't eat the poop. Sniffing burns a lot of energy for dogs. It's also rewarding and relaxing. So you want to allow your dog to sniff. That dog is still there, and I'm allowing Cinder to sniff and explore because that's what I'm looking for. This is the behavior I want, the dog not barking and not reacting. And that's kind of hard for people to understand. A lot of people think, well, I'm waiting for the dog to bark and then I'm going to pull him away, or I'm going to get as close until he barks. And that's what I call practicing towards failure. So find it. You heard a little bit of that high-pitched whimper from Cinder, and that's a little bit of anxiety. Going back to sniffing the poop. Now if Cinder starts staring, the body language that I'm looking for out of Cinder are, dogs are normally what I call wiggly and jiggly. And that dog over there behind us was actually showing some wiggly and jiggly. Now if Cinder is too reactive, I'm gonna take Cinder around, you can stay right there. So now Cinder can't see that dog. So out of sight for a lot of dogs is out of mind. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and come back. Cinder's sniffing, which we like. Now if Cinder starts getting in trouble, I say find it, and I can throw the treat away from the other dog. But essentially what I want to do is kind of just reward Cinder for being around the other dog without reacting. So it seems kind of counterintuitive. This is a version of what we call BAT training or behavior adjustment training. Now Cinder, see how there's looseness on the leash. I don't want Cinder pulling the whole time. I'm gonna go over a loose leash walking exercise with the clients inside. Cinder. So the ears were up. Cinder's tail looks neutral. Body looks relaxed, not tense, she's not staring. And those are all things I'm looking for. So what I'm looking for from the dog, and I'm gonna have you back up and we're gonna walk, and I'm gonna have you watch Cinder, and I'm gonna kind of just narrate, keep on walking back, and I'm gonna walk closer, and we're gonna watch Cinder. Oh yes. Cinder's marker word is yes, by the way. Now I'm gonna have a whole bunch of treats in my hand, but I'm gonna kind of let Cinder do her thing. So I wanna see if we can identify what some of her triggers are. Now if she's pulling on a leash, it's gonna be harder to tell some of these things. Now the other dog has noticed her, not barking yet. Cinder. And we're able to get good attention from Cinder. We're about, I'd say 15 feet. So a little bit of whining anxiety, sniffing the air. See that lean right there? She's stiffening, she's got her back legs out. See now right there, she's backing up a little bit. And so for her, she's sniffing, she can smell him in the air. That's what she's doing. But you see for her, she starts leaning one way or the other. That's one of her tells. And the tail's wagging. This is, I think, a little bit more, I actually want to meet this guy. That was a little bit of a play bow, putting the front paws down and the butt up in the air. And this dog's not barking because Cinder is not displaying a lot of energy that's saying, I don't like you. See how she's able to look away? That dog's pretty close. I don't know if you can see in the shot. I think this is more I want to play. Now there can be other situations where I don't like that dog. But see how her tail is parallel with the spine? We don't have her hackles up, and normally I wouldn't allow this. I'm not doing this saying this is what you want to do. I just kind of wanting to do this as an example. So now since she's a little bit reactive, we're going to walk away. Cinder, find it. Cinder, find it. Cinder, find it. Now I'm using Tricky Trainers, which is a chicken liver treat with a strong smell. Find it. And I'm getting Cinder to run away from the other dog. And so now I'm not saying on every walk you're going to basically be doing find it's all over the place, but there's nothing wrong with doing a find it. Now the idea is when you're walking, the guardians know that this house has this big dog and has a big bark and that Cinder's reactive. So when Cinder's walking by, I might kind of do a little bit of a, let's go ahead and see if I can redirect her just by giving her a plethora of treats. I'm going to have you keep on about this distance and we're just going to walk continuously. And I'm going to see if I can keep Cinder kind of more closer to heel position. And see if we can walk her past the other dog, Cinder, without the reaction. Cinder, find it. Keep on going further back. Cinder, keep going. That way you have a better camera angle. She's sniffing, so I'm going to allow her to do so. Cinder, find it. And I see how the treat ready to go. Cinder, dog's right next to the camera right now. Cinder, find it. Cinder, find it. Find it. Find it. Keep going back. Or are you gonna, let's just go this way. Find it, Cinder. Cinder, find it. So we were just able to walk by that dog without Cinder reacting at all. Now I'm using a whole lot of treats, and a lot of people are like, when can I stop using treats? Hopefully never. I have a lot of dogs that don't like treats, and that's a really hard dog to work with. So now if we practice this every day, passing by here a couple times, this is close to the guardian's home. So if we can practice this every day, Cinder starts looking here for the treats. At first I'm doing it like about every 3 steps. Then I might be able to every 4 steps. Englewood. Southwest. Look at that, a sit. Make sure you reward desired behaviors. If she sits, she lies down, and she's got a little bit of anxiety. You can hear her whimpering or whining a little bit, but she's really close to that dog, but she sat down on her own. And if she's whining and whimpering, I can redirect her just by doing a couple find its. Now find its on concrete are not as ideal, Cinder, as grass, but it's California, it's a really bad drought, so there's not gonna be as much grass. Now, right now, let's say that this is too close. So what I could do, and you're just going to stay right here at the edge. If that dog is too reactive, you stay right there. I could go over here and I could walk, oh, let's not drink that water, that's going to be nasty. Cinder, find it. I can do find its here in this grass area across the street. Then eventually I might do it, and don't let her drink the nasty water. I know it's thirsty. We'll get you some water inside, sweetheart. So I practice walking back and forth here. And once she can do it and I can take maybe 10 steps and that dog's barking and she's not reactive, keep going. Now, ideally, we want to pass dogs that are not reactive. If the dog's reacting, it's going to be more triggering for her. But eventually, maybe at first we're practicing that far, then we're practicing here, then we're practicing walking back and forth here. Eventually, we're in the actual street. Make sure you're being safe. Then we're walking just what we did. Now you saw how close I was able to get, and that dog is still looking over the fence while I just jumped down, but Cinder's able to sit. Now Cinder is breathing heavy. Breathing heavy can be an indication of anxiety. Ears going far forward or flipping straight back. Tail going straight up, which she didn't do. The only thing I saw from her was she had a lean when she seemed a little bit uncomfortable. But in this situation, I think she was more, I want to play with this dog than I'm reactive. Now, if it's a reactive dog, we're probably gonna have to go slower and have more distance. And there's nothing wrong with ebbing and flowing. So if one day you're able to be in the middle of the street, the next day you gotta be over here, that's okay. It's a process. It's not trying to get to the end of the race. We're just trying to help her practice being around the other dogs without reacting, because I'm managing the situation and not allowing her to get close enough where she feels the need that she has to react. Remember, all behavior is trying to achieve something. And so if she's trying to make the other dog go away, well, I can help her by doing that by increasing the distance over here. And we're using the find it, yes, to help her be distracted. All right, Cinder, let's come over here without drinking water. There we go. All All right, so what you need to do, now the ideal situation for this is really, and we'll walk a little bit over here, is to find a big park. So what I'd like the guardians to do, because at a park you're going to have all sorts of different people, you don't know who the people are, but you want a big park that has a big grassy area with a path that goes through it. And people are going to walk their dogs usually from 4:30 to about 6 o'clock is the prime walking time. So what you want to do is exercise Cinder inside with some of the tricks that I talked to you about earlier, and then you're going to walk parallel walking, as we would call it, near these other dogs. And so one dog, if it's really boisterous, you might have to be further away. Another dog's calm, walking in a nice heel position, you get a little closer, and you can walk and have all this green space. If she starts to get leaning towards the dog or leaning away or showing some of those signs of anxiety, just go ahead and do some leave-its and let that dog walk on. And you might take note, there's might be certain breeds of dogs or energy levels of colors of dogs that cause her to be more reactive because of a bad experience she had with one of those type of dogs. And again, I also often ask dogs to sit. Sit, yes, as an indicator of how comfortable she is. If I ask a dog to sit and she won't sit, I'm going to move 5 feet away and ask again. One time, she doesn't, keep moving 5 feet away until you find that distance. But for the park, really what we want to do is be able to get a lot of passes passing back and forth with these people walking their dogs. So she practices being around dogs. She doesn't get to play with them, so we don't increase the level of excitement. But she's not reactive. If she's whining like this, move a little bit further away. She could be whining like this, either saying, I want to play with the dog, or I'm being reactive. Either way, she's in a behavior state that we really don't want. She's overly aroused. We want her to be a little bit more relaxed. So eventually you get to the point where you get closer and closer to that path. It's just like here, we're able to get closer and closer. But when you have things like, if you don't have treats, you're not ready, move away. Don't try to practice if you're not ready. Set your dog up for success. Yes, get her some exercise, let her calm down, and then gradually work your way up. And this might be several practice sessions before getting what you can do. But the fact that she was able to do it right as we walked literally probably about 4 or 5 feet away from the wall where that dog is a good indicator. Now it's a solid wall. If we have a chain link fence, that might be a little bit more reactive. The dog's motion is going to activate it as well. But the idea is we want to just basically put her in situations where she's around other dogs without reacting, because we as the guardians have managed the distance so she didn't have to react. And then we gradually collapse that distance over whatever pace of time it takes. It could be, for one dog it might be a week, another dog it might be a month. That's okay. Remember, the goal is not to finish the exercise quickly, it's to finish the exercise successfully. Cinder, sit. Well, this beautiful girl is Cinder, and these are some tips that you can use if you have a dog that's reactive to other dogs on walks.